Here's a critical thing to understand. The world is changing.
A constitutional republic, not a democracy. The ideal of a democracy is universal equality. The ideal of a constitutional republic is individual liberty. A democracy always degenerates into dictatorship, which promises government-guaranteed equality and security, but it delivers nothing but poverty and serfdom for the people it robs and rules. America was founded as a constitutional republic to safeguard the liberties of the people against the tyranny of democracy or of one-man dictatorship. In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, the totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of our principles of government.
The U.S. Constitution, I think we take for granted. I don't think the ideas behind it are taught. And the other part of that is this, is that the Founding Fathers studied human history and they saw a lot of continuity between the Greek Empire, the failures, and the Roman Republic, transition to the Empire, Babylonians, Chinese, British, you name it. They saw commonalities. And the biggest commonality is this, is that you usually have a ruler, mostly hereditary. Only way to get rid of that ruler is through military force, or mutiny or coup within, right? Like that's how Julius Caesar died. And one of the most interesting studies ever is how Rome voluntarily gave up their rights and their freedoms for safety and protection. It's one of the most interesting transitions, how they went from a republic to an empire so quickly and they never looked back. Because all it takes is one really crazy ruler 4 generations later and your country's gone. Because you lose ideas. Ideas will always stand the test of time, people won't. So, but if your rulers, or your leaders, or whatever you want to call them, your elected officials have good ideas, you should support them. If they have bad ideas, you shouldn't support them. But the ideas are timeless. That's what's so great about the Constitution, is that you can have corrupt people take office, you can have bad presidents like Andrew Johnson take office, but then you have ways to remove them and cross-examine them and to call them out, because the ideas are still embedded in there. That's why the Constitution is so important. That's the difference between a republic and a democracy, by the way. We're not a democracy. We're not. At all, ever. Never say that. Bernie Sanders says it all the time. He's wrong, and he knows he's wrong. We're a republic. A democracy is if 51% of the American people think XYZ, you could vote someone's rights away. It's incorrect. It's not right. A republic has certain rights, certain irrefutable truths that we'd all agree with, that are enshrined, that are protected by a court system. And that, first and foremost, we have to prevent the government from taking those rights away.
Politics today, and you'll hear me say that to the crowd today, politics today is pro wrestling. It is pro wrestling, and you know what I mean by that? I mean by that the Dems and Repubs in front of you and in front of the public is going to tell how they hate each other and how they're different. But as soon as the cameras go off in the back room, they're all going out to dinner together. And they're all buddies cutting deals. It's just like pro wrestling. In front of the public, we hate each other. We're going to rip our heads off. But in the locker room, we're all friends.
Are you suggesting professional wrestling is fake?
I'm suggesting politics is fake.
Political season is at its height right now, and we're all glad to be Americans because we live in a democracy. Well, wait, is this really a democracy?
America is not a democracy.
You see, I was talking with this guy.
My name is Ben Swan.
He does a lot of journalism about our political system.
And I am a reporter and anchor with WXIX TV in Cincinnati. I'm also the host and producer of Reality Check.
And I was trying to figure out what he meant. So we started talking about ancient Greece.
Ancient Greece was a democracy. The people had the ultimate say. So for instance, in the case of the healthcare law, instead of having lawmakers who would draft a bill and vote on a bill and then let the people know what the decision was, they would write a bill, a healthcare bill, and then all the people would go to the polls and the people would vote. And if the majority of the people said we like the healthcare law, it would become law. And if the majority of people said we don't like it, then it wouldn't become law. Everything would be based upon majority rules. But when the founders created our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, they established a form of government, and they actually determined that a democracy was the worst form of government.
The worst form of government?
Many of the founders said that democracy was nothing more than mob rule. And so they were against democracy and instead felt the correct form of government for this free nation was a republic.
Ah, yes, a republic. Yeah, to the republic for which it stands and stuff like that. So, what's a republic?
Well, a republic is a form of government. Let me start that again. A republic is a form of government where the people will go to the polls to elect men and women who represent them. And then those elected leaders create and vote on laws. The people don't vote directly on laws that affect their life. Rather, it's lawmakers who are chosen among the people. And these are supposed to be the best, the smartest, the most ethical, the most moral, the most upright men and women in a society who represent the majority of society. And that's the form of government we have in the United States. The other thing that's important to understand is the distinction between democracy and a republic is that a democracy is the rule of man ruling over each other, which our founders believe turns into mob rule. A republic is the rule of law. Laws are formed and created as a Bill of Rights or a Constitution, and then those laws are never superseded by mob rule or superseded by elected officials. They are all under law. So republic is actually the rule of law.
You heard it here. We are ruled by law in a republic. Let's go elect some officials then. Ben, thanks for talking.
It was a pleasure.
The American people are living in a matrix. They don't understand the truth of how things are working in this country, you know? And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. The very fact is that if you ask 100 people on the street, what kind of government is America supposed to be? 99% of them will tell you a democracy.
I don't know if you feel the way that I do, but I feel like we're living in an alternate universe here. That something has happened to the United States of America, and we're all grasping and trying to hold on to our democracy. I see what's going on in Texas. The vote is being repressed. This is evil. This is wrong. The Republicans have to stop. I'm terrified. Listen to me, Republicans, listen. You are the people in history they warned us about! They warned us about people like you! Pay attention! We're losing our democracy! Wake up! Wake
America is supposed to be a democracy. But that's a lie. That's an illusion. The word democracy is not written into the Constitution at one time. It's not in the Bill of Rights. It's not in the Declaration of Independence. The Founding Fathers hated the idea of a democracy. They thought it was the worst form of government there is. And I agree with them. Because in a democracy, 51% of the people control 49% of the people. If you're part of the 49%, you're not free. America was founded as a constitutional republic. And in that constitutional republic that we have, 99% of the people can't take away the rights of 1%. You have your rights because you were born with them. You have God-given human rights that nobody can take away from you. The government, the majority, no matter who they are, I can't take away your rights. And that's what our founding fathers gave us. But the psychological operations that they do to us, they make us believe that we're a democracy and that majority rules.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest
responsibility
is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about troubling and irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 You see? And they want you to believe that. Because then they tell you this poll says this many want this and this many want that and this many want this, and it doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Well, Hitler was elected.
Hitler was elected. Hitler did everything legally.
And in a constitutional republic, a minority is protected against a majority. Wasn't it Benjamin Franklin, to paraphrase, that said democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner?
Exactly. And then he also said in a republic, the sheep would have a gun to protect himself. You know, and that's the truth. America is not a democracy, but you ask the most intelligent people, what form of government America is supposed to be, they'll say democracy. Because that's what they've been brainwashed. They've been psyoped into believing that. They believe that we're in Iraq. They believe we're in Iraq to promote democracy. The word democracy, you hear George Bush saying democracy means freedom. No, democracy equals New World Order. Democracy equals slavery. The word democracy is not synonymous with freedom. It's the opposite of freedom. Democracy is the worst form of government you can have because it's majority rule. And the government can tell you exactly what they want to tell you to do. Because the majority wants it. I don't care what the majority wants. I live my life as I choose. And if I don't commit violence, theft, or fraud against another human being, I can live my life as I wish. That's my choice. And if I'm allowed to make mistakes, because when you make mistakes, you learn from them. You grow as a human being. We're put on this earth to become the best individuals we can be, to fulfill our God-given potential. Right? We're not here to put on this earth so that the government can tell us how to live our lives and what we must do. We put into these systems and these paradigms. No. The same thing in health. You know, if you're sick, you have to have a certain protocol. Nonsense. You know, be individuals, think for yourself, have critical thinking.